Today on Book Corner with JC, my top 20 science fiction novels. Let's get into it. Okay, science fiction covers a lot of different subgenres. There are a lot of books. It's hard to cover everything. So this is just my top 20. Some books I've read, some I haven't. Everything on my top 10, my top 20 list I've read. Uh, but it's hard to read everything. So keep that in mind. Now, before I start my top 20, I'd like to have my honorable mentions. A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court by Mark Twain. Stranger in a Strange Land by Robert Heinlein. The Man Who Fell to Earth by Walter Tevis. And I Am Legend by Richard Matheson. Now, before we get into the top 20 proper, I limited 2 books per author. So even though I have a favorite author who is Robert Heinlein, only 2 books per author for my top 20 to avoid repetition. So let's start with number 20. The Stars, My Destination by Alfred Bester, published in 1956. A good revenge story. I always love a good revenge story. And also has to do with human evolution and human improvement, progress. Number 19, The Andromeda Strain by Michael Crichton, published in 1969. Michael Crichton always has some nice scientific theory that he throws into his books, and here it's the odd man hypothesis. Look into it, very interesting. Number 18, Battlefield Earth by L. Ron Hubbard, published in 1982. This is just space opera, spaceships and lasers and things like that. It's not too deep, but it's a very entertaining story. Now, keep in mind that with the passing of L. Ron Hubbard, the proceeds to this book go to the Church of Scientology. So if you're not that big into the Church of Scientology, keep in mind the profits go to them. Might be a problem for some people. I try to separate the work from the artist, and then, the church gets the proceeds. Just something to keep in mind, though. Number 17, Altered Carbon by Richard Morgan, published in 2002. Just sort of a hard-boiled detective in the future. Okay, I would like to pause here just to go over some other rules on the list. I have read Foundation by Isaac Asimov, but that is not on my list. Just didn't connect with me. Just it didn't resonate with me. So I know a lot of people would say Foundation. Not in my top 20, sorry. A novel that I'm currently reading that might make the top 20, if I like it, is Hyperion by Dan Simmons. So when I finish it, I might redo the top 20 if I think it's worthwhile. Philip Dick, he doesn't have any in my top 20. I do like Philip Dick. I think he's okay. I don't think he's great, but I think he's okay. Probably the best one I like of his is Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? And I also kind of liked The Game Players of Titan. I read The Man in the High Castle. That was okay. Some other authors that have not made my top 20. Octavia Butler, although I do have a couple of her books. It's in a box somewhere. I need to find it, but just because I haven't read her books yet. She might make it. Kurt Vonnegut. I think Kurt Vonnegut's okay. I've read Slaughterhouse Five and The Sirens of Titan. They're okay, but he's not my favorite author. I think the generation previous to me really liked Kurt Vonnegut. Not so much me. Neuromancer by William Gibson. I've read it twice. Don't understand it. Um, Again, I guess the foundation for cyberpunk, but doesn't make my top 20. And then Douglas Adams, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I haven't read it, but some of these comedy or lampoon novels or shows that parody other works of art. When you parody, you can only be as good as what you're lampooning, not better. And I'm not really interested in that sort of thing. Some people might say it's great. Okay, it's up to you. I haven't read it, and I have no desire to read them, so not on my top 20. Okay, to continue with the countdown, we're going to skip 16 because we have a tie at 15. At 15, we have Brave New World by Aldous Huxley in 1932, and 1984, published by George Orwell, published in 1949. This is a tie because it's sort of two sides of the same coin. How would you control a large population? In Brave New World, you would control them with pleasure, recreational drugs, and sex. In 1984, you would control them with terror, violence, surveillance, punishment. And if you were to look in the current modern world, you might see the latter in China and perhaps the former in, say, the United States, where I live. Both proven to be very effective at controlling large populations. Number 14, Stand on Zanzibar by John Brunner, published in 1968. And this is our first Hugo Award winner on my list. Now, this book will not be for everyone. There are different kinds of chapters. There are some chapters that tell the story, and then there are other chapters that just kind of give a flavor to the world. And that may not be for everyone. Now, a couple of things that I do like about it is how it predicted the future. It has people running amok, people just losing it and getting very violent, like shooting or stabbing complete strangers on the street. It also has AI software run on supercomputers that the elites use to try to predict the future. Number 13, The Invisible Man by H.G. Wells, published in 1897. Now, it has been determined that a person cannot be completely invisible because you need light in your eyes, in your retina, in order to be able to see. So if you take it as being invisible except for your eyes, so okay, I'll roll with that. If only your eyes were visible, that'd still be a large advantage, I would think. Now, when it comes to progress, everyone thinks it'll be so great. What if scientific progress is not so great? I think more people have died by violence in the 20th century than any previous century. So just because there's scientific progress, that doesn't mean things are going to get better. Number 12, Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton, published in 1990. Again, sort of the same thing. Scientific progress could be abused and perverted. Doesn't mean things are going to be great. Number 11, Childhood's End by Arthur C. Clarke, published in 1953. A common theme with Clarke, human evolution, and how would we perceive that? Number 10, The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, Robert Heinlein. This is a Hugo Award winner, published in 1966. Has a sentient AI. It has people trying to declare independence on the moon. Heinlein's my favorite author in sci-fi. I would recommend more than just two, but for the purposes of my list, just two per author on the list. Number 9, The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula Le Guin. This is a Hugo and Nebula Award winner, published in 1969. This is a slow-paced novel. It's not going to be for everyone. It has to do with sexuality and how that affects people in general. We have someone on a planet where there are variable genders. It depends on time and environment. You could be male or female. Again, kind of slow-paced, but very interesting if you're okay with that. Number 8, The Three-Body Problem by Cixin Liu, translated by Ken Liu. This is a Hugo Award winner. Again, this will not be for everyone. This is a non-linear storytelling. Things don't happen in a chronological fashion. And then it was a little bit difficult for me keeping up with all the Chinese names, just because I'm not used to it. But again, an interesting idea, concept about the galaxy, the universe, other possible extraterrestrial species, and then, of course, how we treat our own scientists and what might happen because of that. Number 7, Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, published in 1953. The firefighters, they don't come to put out fires, they come out to burn books. Number 6, The Forever War by Joe Haldeman, published in 1975. A Hugo and Nebula Award winner. What happens when you have to deal with time dilation for people, and also on the nature of war. Number 5, Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card, published in 1985. A Hugo and Nebula Award winner. And we're starting to get into it now. What if you had sort of a video game style of warfare, and you had your kids or young people fighting wars sort of through a computer interface, almost like they're playing video games? Orson Scott Card is under some fire for his religious beliefs, not, I guess, tolerant of homosexuals and such. So that might be a deal breaker for some people. I try to separate the work from the artist whenever I can. Number 4, Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, published in 1818. Probably the first and the very best about when scientific progress goes wrong. Number 3, Starship Troopers by Robert Heinlein, published in 1959, a Hugo Award winner. One of my personal favorites. I'm sure a lot of people would not rate this as highly. Again, Heinlein's my favorite author. And some people think Heinlein is a bit too violent. I just think he's a libertarian and very independent-minded. And in that framework, uh, when we work and live together as a species, we have to take individual responsibility for the whole, the group. And that's my interpretation anyway. Some people may not like it. They might think it's too violent. Uh, so it might rub some people the wrong way. Number two, The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells, published in 1897. Uh, this has a very interesting idea of aliens invaded Earth, what would happen, especially in the time period. And I like the fact that the aliens have heat rays, or I guess you could say a directed energy weapon. And they also have short range rockets to carry a chemical weapon in them. I thought it was very interesting that you could come up with something like that early, that far back. And it also has some interesting things like if you think the world is going to end, how do people react and how do they respond? And my number one science fiction novel is Dune by Frank Herbert, published in 1965. This is a Hugo and Nebula Award winner. Uh, this book and the other Dune books is all about being thought-provoking and making you think. There might be some issue with how this novel and some of the other novels end, but I wouldn't really say it's about that. It's about thinking about the future, and a lot of different things come up. Politics, religion, economics, ecology, violence, whether it's large-scale combat or individual one-on-one combat, uh, genetics, eugenics, and very thought-provoking. I know a lot of people have this as their number one, and it's easy to see why. It covers a vast array of topics, very in-depth, and I always think when I read it, and I go through and read the novels every 5 to 6 years. So that is it. My top 20 science fiction novels. Please comment below on your favorite novels. Thank you for coming to Book Corner today with JC. Have a good day, and thank you.